Hey guys, Phil here. Today's episode is with Jeff Doucette from Fieldagent. You'll hear it. We as we do sometimes, we roll into it. We start talking, and then I don't think we introduce him at all. Jeff's been on before. We just feel like he was a great conversation to have. We're coming right up to CHFA, and he's just got some really relevant services for folks that are brands and that are trying to kind of make headway in the environment. So we thought there's an interesting conversation to have now. So he's kind of top of mind when you see the field agent guys at CHFA. These are really good folks to be able to have great conversations and try and figure out if they can help you with your biz. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Yep.
How old are
I
yours?
guess. Yeah, how old are yours?
My daughter is turning 13 in November, so
Okay,
that's
30.
fun.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
same.
And my son just turned 10 through the summer, so he's changing schools, and we're just trying to get everything sorted out with him having a phone and all of these fun things that as kids age up they need to have because they're roaming the wild streets of Calgary on their own. So
Exactly. And that's typically when you really want summer to be about 3 days, not 2 months.
Yeah.
Can't come fast. It's sad, right? There's probably between 8 and 18 that summer really does not need to be as long as it is.
Yeah,
Then they get older and you wish it was longer.
Yeah, they've had a fun summer. They were in Australia with their mom for a month. So
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that's cool. That was a great summer.
Yeah, it was like, it's hard to compete with that. It's like, a trip to Callaway Park doesn't add up to a trip to Australia.
No.
But they had a great time. And, I Skyped with them one time and they were just hanging out in the patio. And I asked my son, I was like, how's it going? He's like, oh, it's pretty good. But, the kangaroos are kind of lazy. And he just turns the phone around. The kangaroo is like 15 feet away, just laying in the grass outside their balcony. So I was,
Yeah.
They've had some fun experiences for sure.
Tough life, guys. Tough life.
Yeah. You guys had a good summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Almost over. It's gone fast.
Yeah, I got lucky. So we took the kids to, my kids are older than yours. Mine are 15, 17, and 21. So we got the stars to align. We got work schedules to work. So we took them to Europe. So we just got back.
Nice.
So it was pretty fun. But it does feel like it's all just kind of flown by a little bit. So, like
I think it has. I mean, it feels like it was just New Year's last week. It's right at the end of August.
No, it's going by super fast. And did my kids are bugging me to take them to Europe next summer because I lived in Paris for a couple of years and they're very to go see my old stomping grounds over there. So
that'd be kind of fun though, right? And they're getting to the age where you could at least travel with them.
Yeah.
Like, well, they're not going to be, they're still going to be, I mean, you have to throw a pool at them periodically because they're kids, but they can actually go see a few churches or they can go see a few museums and probably actually appreciate it because they probably already started maybe talking about it.
But your kids are pretty travel savvy too. So they'll probly get it.
Yeah. And if they've made it
Faster
to
than
Australia,
most,
then Europe is nothing.
Europe's a cakewalk. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It's half the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that should be a no-brainer. Well, good for
Paris
you.
for a couple of years. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So anyway, we've graduated from Disney. If I never see Disney again, I will be
even better.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's all good.
Totally okay with that.
Let it go.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So you were on your own for a month.
Yeah, a little bit of like Summer of Jeff going on in a way.
That's awesome. Why? Yeah. I just assumed you were working twice as hard because
there was
nobody around.
there was that, but I did escape to San Diego for a long weekend, which was nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, San Diego's awesome. So
It's a nice town.
highly recommend. And
I like San Diego.
Yeah, and I love getting to the States because there's tons of cool business ideas that now they're percolating around in my head. It's like, oh, which of these would be a leader idea to bring to Canada? Because the failure rate there. Well, I mean, it's easier to be successful when you have 10 times the people, right? And so
it's also easy to fail real hard, real fast.
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I think it's also like, a regional business in California is like a national business in Canada, right?
A regional business in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's like a full-time business in Canada. Never mind California.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, seriously.
You just have to have the right level of ambition. You don't need to be, the next IPO. You can do very well in having 100 coffee shops in, SoCal.
Yeah, and and it's funny because we say that because we do talk. Phil and I would talk a lot about that too. The whole IPO kind of mentality that we have, you lose sight that even in Canada, if you did 100 coffee shops, we'll talk about as we get through. But 100 coffee shops in the GTA, you can do 100 coffee shops. I mean, we got 10,000 in Vancouver, but you could actually do okay. It's not all about just going worldwide within 15 minutes of an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can do a good chunk of business. Just
absolutely.
Locally.
Well, even like look at for me, one that flies under the radar for me, but we've bumped up kind of across them through the work that we do. But I'm not familiar with Ottawa, but there's Bridgehead Coffee in Ottawa that is sort of like a local legend, right? What is it?
I've never heard of it.
In Vancouver.
Pete's was from Portland.
Yeah, Seattle or Portland, right?
Pete's was Portland. Then they went public. Then when they went back to private, like they pulled all the shares back. But they
doesn't Pete's have ties to Starbucks? Because I thought they were.
I don't know if it was Starbucks or another one of the nationals. Someone bought in, and then I think they actually did. What do you call when you buy all your shares back? Whatever that thing is. I think they took it back private. So it's private, public, private. I think that's where it ended up. But Pete's was one of those iconic things. Everybody knew Pete's.
Right.
Everybody knew Pete's.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But I think to your point, I think that's true. I think sometimes that's what the States kind of, again, like the GTA is large enough. Like Calgary and Vancouver. Okay, I mean we're a little smaller and probably a little sleepier to some degree than the big smoke. Yeah. But you get out there, you do the GTA, you got 7-8 million people. Well, you can. Yeah,
but Bridgehead is a good example. So Bridgehead, the other one that's out there is Happy Goat, right? And two of them, like they've got a lot of between the
a lot of locations and stuff. Or
they've locked up Ottawa, but they do like really great steady business. Like both of those are really wonderful, coffee shops that just do really really well, right? Like in a tiny town, really in Ottawa, right? So it's kind of cool.
And if you can build a connection with the community, right? That's you just need to create a cult in your local area versus trying to force the concept from Ottawa to Toronto, right? And try and make it in the big city. That's the downfall of so many chains like that. I think they are not content with being a 50-store chain,
Yeah,
I think it's a problem with a lot of people. And if it's not on the retail chain side, it's even the people trying to sell into them. Everybody wants to be the next $300 million sale, which is great. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the goal and shooting for it, but reality dictates that there ain't that many of them.
Yeah, it's the NHL mentality, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many players actually make it? And we're not pulling just from Canada anymore, right? Like in the old days when you had, let's say 16 teams and most were Canadian, that's fine. They weren't most Canadian, but at this league, you're pulling from the world now. So you're a great hockey player in Medicine Hat 30 years ago had a chance. Today, well, you're pulling from a whole bunch of Medicine Hats in a million other countries.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw my LinkedIn, I kind of tweeted out at least the visibility that Save-On had registered their name in Nova Scotia. So
I saw that. You know what? And I thought the same thing you did. that wasn't to protect the trademark just for funsies. Just assuming.
Yeah.
Just
you don't wake up on
maybe it
random
was.
August day.
Maybe it was. Don't know.
What?
Yeah.
I love stirring the rumor mill, if anything, right?
Well, you know why? Because what the hell? And honestly, there's nothing left in BC, Alberta for him.
Right.
What's left?
Well, yeah.
Well, what corner? Yeah, we're down to corner grocers because.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they could buy.
Yeah. They've gotten to Whitehorse, so that's typically the far reaches of a Western Canada expansion.
Exactly. So really.
Yeah. But all good, and then it's been kind of crazy. I was seeing today. I know this is going to date the podcast, but I'll ruin it anyway. But I mean, it was interesting to see the news today with Yellowknife evacuated. Them talking about sort of on reestablishment of the city. You just can't have 20,000 people go back to the grocery store on day one. So everybody bring food with you from Edmonton or
where you are, load up because
they
haven't done an order in 10 days.
Yeah. And then what I guess, there's now the communities, the outlying communities from Yellowknife are really experiencing is that Yellowknife was the hub, right? So all the outlying community grocery stores are starting to get empty because Yellowknife isn't populated. So that supply chain is completely broken right now. And that's just starting to make the news now of, how do we get food to, these smaller outlying communities outside of Yellowknife that depended on Yellowknife for food and supplies. So,
and it's funny because we were talking about it. I know the BC government's trying to, I think they finally figured out the supply chain is broken. I mean, I don't know why it took so long, but they figured it out. But one thing they're not understanding is like even within the province to ship to Prince George or up to Terrace and Kitimat, then if you want to supply from Vancouver all the way up to Whitehorse, which is a different territory, that's a long distance and it's not easy to do. Those people already struggle getting stuff up there reasonably.
Right. Yeah, on a regular day.
On a normal day, no fires, nothing going on in life. It's already expensive, even from Edmonton to Whitehorse. It's not cheap. Now you add in, like you said, there's been a 10 to 14 day disruption. All the outlying areas, if it wasn't coming through Whitehorse, they weren't getting it. And nobody's going to an outskirt town with a 53-foot trailer. Everything's going to get dropped into Whitehorse, or if you're a Yellowknife in the other territory, like any of those far reaching, it's the shits on a good day.
Yeah.
And how long is it going to take for them to reset? I mean, I really feel for people because it's really difficult. When you're that far up.
Well, and I didn't know this until, it's the benefit of going and checking out a store once in a while. But I mean, I was in Edmonton a while ago and went into one of the Costco's in the north end of the city. And there were already blocks of mixed pallets all put together there. And they were all tagged for pickup by Air North or one of the airlines. So what we don't realize, in CPG when it's the North Edmonton store does really well. Well, it does really well because they're flying in goods from North Edmonton Costco into the grocery stores in the north.
Yeah, it's for a 600 mile away or 600 kilometer away destination. It's not next door.
Yeah, exactly. It's wow, they eat a lot of Lipton chicken noodle soup in Edmonton North. And it's
no. But they do it in Whitehorse.
They do, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's where she's going.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. For listeners, we've got Jeff Doucette on from Fieldagent. We haven't talked to you in a while. It doesn't actually feel like that long because I feel like we just talked to you and Bram. But when I look backwards, it's a long time ago, like a long time ago, actually. But
not that long.
Yeah, I think it's front half of the year.
Yeah, it was.
No,
it was
6
February,
months, 8 months, maybe. Yeah,
probably February.
Yeah.
But
we thought it'd be neat to bring Jeff back and see what's going on in retail. It's certainly not been a quiet summer for all sorts of things, so we figured we just.
I always like talking to you because you're always doing kind of cool shit. You're always got your perspective's different because you're out there. So I mean, you know as well as I, most people really don't live in retail stores. I mean, weird people like maybe the three of us will do retail, but it's not it's not, most people in retail don't do retail. Do you know what I'm getting at? Like, you just don't see probably what you see. So I always like having you on, because I find sometimes when we talk to you, or even if I follow you, it's picking up of the trend. So I'm dying to hear what you saw in San Diego that you think might work up here, because it's always cool, especially in SoCal. It's cool to see what could come up, especially on our side. Maybe not so much in Phil's side, because they're Ontario, they're a little slower.
Yeah.
But BC, Alberta will go a little quicker on these ones. And then I'd love to hear what your perspective, like, what do you think's happening up here? What's going on in the hood? How we looking?
Yeah. It's been a really interesting summer. Like you guys said, we see a lot of retail. We had, in the month of July, we did 40,000 category store walks for our clients across Canada. That's just Canada. And we're also in the US and around the world. So it's really neat to just be able to, I don't know, I feel lucky to be able to sit and just scroll through mounds of photos, because some of them are, it's just like, oh yeah, there's another whatever out of stock or whatever's happening. But when you start to look at them on an aggregate basis, it's, you can kind of start to pick out those trends and, just kind of neat stuff. I try to post a lot of that to my LinkedIn as well. So if anybody's interested, follow me on LinkedIn. You can kind of see some of my random musings about what's going on in the world there. And, we do our own studies as well, which kind of gives us a bit of an insight as to what's happening. But we're quite happy with, sort of where our business has gotten back to over the last 6 months.
So maybe back it up before, let me interrupt you. So maybe back it up, because we know you, and this is the third time you've been on our show, but maybe just a quick 5-minute of who you are and sort of what you do, because otherwise, I mean, the three of us will talk, and this will be a podcast really for the three of us.
Yeah.
It'll be just a catch up. We could have probably just phoned each other.
Wait, are there other people listening, or?
Yeah.
Well, if we continue the way we're going, no, not so much. Maybe Braun, maybe it'll be 4. My mom might listen on her exercise platform. That's fine. But really, that's 5 then. We're done. So maybe just a quick one of who you are, what you do, so that we get context of why we're talking to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So so I'm the general manager of Fieldagent Canada. We launched Fieldagent Canada back in 2011. So we're coming up on our 12th anniversary in October.
Happy anniversary.
And thank you. And Fieldagent's really started out as a tool, a couple of people sitting around saying, hey, these new iPhones, this is sort of like April 2010 type of time frame, right? These new iPhones, wouldn't it be neat if we could get people with all these iPhones to take pictures of what's happening at store, and we could somehow put that on a website, and people would be amazed that they could get this? And what if we could do it way cheaper than a traditional merchandising company? Instead of having a rep visit at 30 or 40 bucks a call, what if we did it for 10? And so that was the premise of Fieldagent. We launched an app. We in Canada got our first 5,000 downloads in the first week, and we started doing audits that following week for Loblaws. We were auditing the Recipe to Riches program every week. When the new item dropped, we were out checking and making sure it was in the stores, making sure the signage was up, and all that fun stuff. And so, that was the vision back in 2011, was just, let's get this launched in Canada. It had been successful in the States for about a year. And we've actually been more successful in Canada because, big country, lots of space in between, really expensive, lots of steering wheel time, and so many CPG companies. And we do a lot of work with food service as well. But I mean, in CPG, everybody's just trying to do more with less, and budgets are tight, and how, zero-based budgeting, and how do you do things differently. So, some of our initial customers, like Procter & Gamble, they just kind of saw the vision. It fit really well into how they wanted to manage the marketplace. And so we kind of started from there, kind of fast forward 12 years now. That initial 5,000 people with the app is now 250,000. And that's just a mobile army that, people can tap into to go and collect data, whether it be in a store or at a restaurant or a farmer's market or duty free or Costco or wherever.
So you're talking Canada, quarter mil Canada, quarter mil total?
$250,000 Canada.
So you got 250,000, 500,000 eyeballs.
Yeah.
to potentially work for you.
That's a great way to spin it, Kenny. I never did the multiplication by 2, but
I'll
you send me the marketing invoice. That's good.
I'll bill you later for that one.
Brand ideation.
You know what? Screw it. It's a freebie. We like it.
Freebie. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
but so we started doing audits. Sort of the next natural progression from there was getting into the mystery shop space, so more about the customer experience. Kind of understanding. The quality of food coming off the line at a McDonald's or a Tim Hortons versus the new concept that they've cooked up in their kitchens, or interacting with people at Best Buy and saying, hey, I want to buy a smart home speaker. What do you recommend and why? And kind of trying to get to why are the people at store recommending the Google one versus the Amazon one, and trying to understand whether training is actually getting through all the way to store level. So we do a lot of work in that space now. Also, like cannabis has been a really interesting industry for us as well, because what the bud tender says in the store means a lot, especially with a very uneducated consumer,
Absolutely.
New consumers in a lot of spaces. So a lot of the, licensed producers are wanting to find out what that advocacy is like at store level for their products and what bud tenders are saying, so they can build training programs or messaging to.
Well, how do you tap into it, right?
Yeah, how do you tap into that? And then it was actually, Fieldagent is one of these tools that just evolved because our customers kept asking questions. And, the Procter & Gamble people said, hey, you've got, maybe at the time, 50,000 people with your app. Could we find 200 people that buy diapers at Walmart? Because we really want to get inside their heads and understand why they buy there and what they like and don't like. And so that's where we got into the shopper insights business. So we're very good at, in the moment, hey, I want to be with someone in the store while they're shopping and have them feed back their experience. But I don't have time to fly to Medicine Hat to do the 10 a.m. on a Tuesday walk around with Jill. And, Jill shows up and she's been prepping for a week and she's done up to the nines, and it's not a real shopping experience either because she's getting paid $200 or $300 to do it. What we get, and it's been awesome, is, because we also have video capabilities and stuff like that. We get the mom on a Saturday with her 2 kids in the basket. She's got a list. She's doing a real shop and what's going through her mind in a real shop. And because no one's actually physically looking at her or watching over her shoulder, she's much more candid. And the best compliment
I can only imagine.
Yeah, the best compliment we ever had on the video content that we got was from a client. He said, your videos are really gritty. And at first I was like, whoa, like this, and here comes the complaint. He goes, no, that's awesome. Like, we don't want like polished,
it's honest
Hollywood insights. We want the real deal of the shelf looks a mess. There's a
I tripped over 2 floor stacks to get to a shelf that was half empty. Every time I come here, it's the same. Like, if I'm a retailer or a brand and I hear that, there's an action that needs to happen.
Yep. Yeah,
at both levels, potentially, not just maybe a store level. Maybe it's a brand issue, but I think you want to hear that from moms and dads and grandparents and kids. Like, why did you stop there? Like, what pissed you off and what made you so happy?
Yeah, no, exactly. And imagine, just, kind of picking a person out of random, but if someone at Save On Foods head office sets up a walkabout for Daryl to go walk stores with a customer,
that store is going to be pristine.
Yeah, you're just by default of the industry, you're not getting a true view, right?
It's not even close to reality.
Yeah, exactly. And so where we see these videos are really have been important is, we'll do the research, we'll do the quantitative research and get 200 respondents and, get all of the information required. But the videos make it come to life. If you can show 3 consumers trying to buy meat in a store and they don't have the cuts that they want, or they're price comparing it to another store, and it's like, I can't shop here, it's 30% more than another store down the street. The executive level listens to the video. That
resonates real fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. And there, we've been in meetings afterwards, sometimes months later, where they say, remember that person Pam, she told us this, and it's been my mission to make Pam happy since we saw that video. And that's really, really powerful. So that's kind of the majority of what we do. We also do a lot of
Sorry, can I just pause you there? Because I know you've
Sure.
got more, but
Yeah.
I just like having worked big companies in Catman, category management, all this stuff. Like you kind of went, this is cool. Like that's like,
It's not cool. It's past cool.
fuck, man. I would have given a liver to be able to get. I'm really serious, right?
Seriously.
Like you can ask Bram. Like so, even when I was sales strat then, I get kicked out of stores because that's what I was doing, was cruising around trying to get
insights
as real as you can get, right? Because you're dying for that kind of, like retailers have like, challenged privacy laws to put cameras, like all sorts of crazy shit to try and get what you just described that you can get, right? Because we can't get it, right? We just can't get it. Like you just, you've always got one guy who's like, this is what my mom told me. And you're like, you kind of make fun of it, right? But at the same time you go, but that is as real as it gets ever, right? Because we can't get more than that, right? So you just gave, like, this is anyway.
I think it even goes
you were
past
so
that.
casual about it.
You're too
damn it, Jeff,
flippant's a bad
not
choice of
that
words,
casual.
but it isn't. And I'll tell you why. Like if you think about it, like when Phil, I bought
serious,
and he sold. So I go into a store and walk. Let's say when I was in the oldest, I'd walk a London Drugs or I'd walk a Save On or a Shoppers.
Yeah.
My eyes and my perspective are not consumer at that point. I'm from a buyer's eyes. When Phil goes in, he's a brand.
Yeah.
And we're not stupid. We see the holes and all that shit.
Yeah.
But the emotion I have is very different. The times we used to stand in a set and then someone would shop and they look at you, do you work here? And you're thinking, oh, Jesus. Yeah, I work head office. I don't understand why you guys do this. And you're thinking, well, you don't have to be so mean. You might be 100% right.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking at that and I didn't see that. But you're thinking, because again, it's because the ones you have to listen to, and it's not that consumers are always right, but the consumer's perspective is the important perspective.
Yeah.
Right? I come to this store and shop for diapers because I got to put diapers on these two kids, and you can't put fucking stuff on the shelf. I don't understand what the problem is, because your whole purpose in the morning is to unlock the doors so I can buy these damn diapers. What part are you not getting?
I know. It's really powerful stuff. I agree. And Phil, we used to work at the same company, but I remember I was in a lot of conversations with one person in particular where it was just, the conversation came down to, oh, the tummy check says, and that's what the decision was.
How do you tummy check?
Like, just my tummy tells me this is what's the right decision, right? And and so, in the insights stuff, especially, simple things like maybe you're trying to decide, your agency has brought you 3 concepts for a summer promotion, or maybe you're thinking about claims for your packaging, or, you might be working on new packaging. We actually worked with a CPG company on a new packaging refresh, a big one, and they won an international packaging award based on our research, and the work they did, obviously, but I'd like to take credit for it.
You helped.
Yeah, we helped a little bit. But those types of projects, everybody in CPG has been trained, like, that's a $30,000 project.
Easy.
We need to deal with our agency. We need to go out and talk to these big research companies. For us, these projects are like $1,500, $2,000. We get you the data back in 48 hours type of thing. Yeah. And so no more tummy checks. We can actually, we get lots of calls now where it's 4:00 in Toronto. They're like, oh, can you run these concepts overnight with people who buy skincare at Walmart? And in the morning they come in, they have the answer. It's not tummy check. It's like, hey, 200 Walmart skincare shoppers have said this is the right decision.
Yeah.
And, it's just better decisions, faster and cheaper.
Well, if you're going to do a tummy check, at least tummy check with the people that are going to tell you, because that's what they believe. They're telling you what they think. Now, whether you take the advice or not is a whole different who cares? But at least you're doing it on the opinion of the person who's going to actually purchase this product or not purchase this product potentially.
Anyway, you were very casual about it, and
you got to. It's not.
I just wanted
it's not normal,
like how important that really is, right?
Well, I did think from a retail perspective, like we were always noted as one of the retailers that could execute and we'd get shit done and things were up to date, and that didn't always hold either. And we were still better than everybody, but you're blind. I can't see 78 stores.
Right.
I assume they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm assuming they're listening.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm assuming the customers are happy, but those are pretty bold assumptions.
Well, and when you're lucky, when you're a chain that's building from scratch and all your stores look identical and they've all been built within a 10-year period, you more or less know
it's a little easier.
But if you're London with even with just 78 stores or whatever, there's a lifespan, a whole bunch of different footprints and
all over the
old
place.
signage and whatever that's happening.
All over the place.
You take that to like a 600 store chain, it's even worse.
Absolutely.
And so we get a lot of requests. It's like, this might sound weird, but we need pictures of all of our road signs because we don't know how many of them show the gasoline price, in those little fill in the blank numbers versus the slots.
Yeah, they're still coming up the ladder to put out the numbers. You're thinking,
because that information hasn't been tracked, or it is completely out of date, or no one's keeping track of what sign got replaced. And it's just really operational stuff that we can help with in that space as well. So it's fun. And like I said, it makes my day interesting every day because I wake up and it's like, oh, what project do I want to stick my nose in today? And I find packaging refreshes just as interesting as road signages for convenience stores. So
it's funny, but
And we'll be right back.
All right. This episode is brought to you by CHFA. Thank you to our sponsors, the Canadian Health Food Association. There's a show coming up, CHFA Now. It's going to be in Toronto. It'll be Thursday, September 21st. And then
through Sunday the 24th.
And this show, like it used to be just, it was never just a trade show, but lots of people came to walk the show and just see new brands. But the show has just taken on a whole life of its own. Kenny and I were just looking at the number of things, right, that you can and should do at the show. There's stuff going from Thursday the 21st all the way through to Sunday. There's some really big things. The regulatory group is going to go through all the NHP stuff that you've been hearing about: cost recovery, compliance verification, labeling updates, plastic sustainability stuff. All of that stuff they're going to be going through on the Thursday.
That one, Phil, though, that's for CHFA members and associates only. But
correct.
It also it's probably another reason why you should really consider becoming a CHFA member anyway.
Yeah. If there's ever a year that you wanted to do it, this is probably the year, because of all these things and the amount of coverage that CHFA has had on this stuff. But then on the Friday too, right? There's Canada, US organic equivalency. There's Think Like a Futurist, so how to turn trends into tangible results, which is super cool. There's gene editing for genetic modification, in case you're worried about that. If you want to think about collagen, there's a session on collagen. There's, gut health and the role that the gut plays in immune and mental health. Gosh, there's so many things.
There's tons of stuff. I guess what it is, see, to me, if I look at it from what I was when I was a buyer,
when
I used to do this show, it really was focusing on the Saturday, Sunday, and it was really about doing this show, right? When I left buying and started going into the other side, which was all sides, it really became much more important to actually know what was going on the like, for example, on this one, on the Thursday, Friday, because the amount of quality lecture you get these days is unbelievable. The show is always going to be the show, and it's always the fun part. And you should be going to CHFA regardless, just because the networking, the fact they'd advocate, the fact that there's just so much cool stuff always happening. But if you really want to take full advantage of the show, you really need to participate. Thursday would be good this year because what the topic is, which is talking all about regulatory, which is just a nightmare this year. And if you really can get up to date on that, get it. But the beauty now is the Friday is packed.
Yeah, there's
so many things to learn and so many things to see. Like, I just think the old days, if you're still of the mindset that the show is just the trade show, you've really got to get off that one. There is so much more that's there. even at the end of the day, you got CHFA Trends, which last year was Lindsay and
Really
Aaron
big.
talking about some
Yeah.
research they did and all
Yeah.
the things they're learning. And then Launchpad follows that, which is really cool. So if you're a small brand and you're not part of Launchpad, you'll see maybe what buyers or what you'll typically get asked that were graded on when you're presenting. And then the social mixer for the member mixer for the social aspect of the evening.
There's
So if you're a member and associate, you get to hang out together, and it's a great way to catch up with people.
There's also Incubator Alley, which is where you get to see all the new brands as well. And so that's a really big thing. I know for retailers, that's a really hot part, but I think for everybody to see what new up and coming brands are, what the new ideas
if you
are.
Want to stay at, if you want to stay
cool.
atop the natural health industry in Canada, you got to do the two. You got to do this one and you got to do the other. Really and truly, I would really recommend for people to go through. You should really consider becoming members of the CHFA anyway. Like you really should. You really need to be part of these communities that are out there defending and sticking up for your businesses, because I'll tell you right now, it doesn't look like government's doing a lot to help us. So get on board.
Make sure. So September 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, CHFA weekend.
Yep.
It's here in Toronto. Make sure you sign up. So the link will be in the show notes below.
And we'll see you at the show.
CHFAnow.ca. Make sure you go and sign up, become a member, sign up for the show. Really important to do.
And find us there. We'll see you at the show.
Yeah, we'll definitely see you at the show.
And now back to the podcast.
It's so weird to think that you guys would be doing road signage. And yet, as soon as you say that, I mean, I'm thinking,
it makes so much sense.
If you think about it, when's the last time that someone looked at the main sign for the mall and where were you placed? Can I see you? There's 14 trees growing. I've got 14 stores and everyone's got a tree in front of my name, or some stupid thing where you're thinking, well, no shit, you're sort of maybe missing out, or things have gone a little sideways, because by the time they saw the sign, they were already at the next mall or whatever it is. Like just goofy things, right? Well, how does the front store look? How's the parking lot look?
Yeah, and it's funny, like once you have a crowd, you can imagine like so many different things to do. And that's our advantage of having these 250,000 people or 500,000 eyeballs.
500,000 eyeballs, baby.
500,000 eyeballs. And, you know, you can get so many different things. And one of the ideas that, you know, these are ideas that kind of fleet through my head and I'll never execute on. But, you know, I see so many billboards where it's like, you know, if company X only knew that this execution is unreadable from the street because their font is so small, or the billboard is so small, or it's
the colors were off, or some
it's
stupid
all camouflage or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that could be a really interesting one. I also, you know, did you know that you can't go on the Canada Post website and say, where's my nearest mailbox? I just want to mail something. They'll tell you where the post office is. They won't tell you where the post office no mailboxes is.
So you know what I use now? I know where my mailbox is, because I do a lot of eBay, and there's on ways to different offices. I want to know where the mailboxes are. You know how I found them?
No,
just by practically going off the road looking for a stupid red mailbox.
Exactly.
I'm thinking, why can't you just give me an app and tell me this on 49th and Kerr? Like, how hard is that?
Well, yeah. And so, like, for us, one of the ideas was, well, if we've got these, you know, all these people running around, wouldn't it be awesome to just crowdsource this tool to say, tell me where the mailboxes are, and we'll create a website where you can put your postal code in or your stress, and it shows, here's your 3 nearest mailboxes. You know, that's the kind of thing that a crowd can do right across Canada, right? So anyway, it's fun to be able to do that type of stuff. And and our customers come up with great ways of using Fieldagent. You know, we obviously vet them, but you know, there's a legendary story from the US team early on where you know, a customer filled in a form on the web and said, we really would like you to go to these 5 hotels in St. Louis, or I don't know, Kansas City, or one of these places, and take pictures of every license plate from out of state in the parking lot.
And
we're like, okay. Finally, you dig down into it. It's a private investigator trying to catch a cheating spouse.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they just said, okay, we think he's going out of state. And if we can find a Michigan license plate in Indiana,
that is awesome.
Then it's probably him, and it can help him find us. And we were like, no, we're not doing that. Like, that's obviously there's tons of things wrong with that type of a task, but once,
I think that's clever.
Yeah. But, the question we pose to everybody, like in the industry and with customers on our side, is just, what would you do if you had 250,000 people to tell you whatever you wanted? That's kind of what Fieldagent is.
Huh. I actually don't know what I would ask for.
I don't know what I would ask.
It's kind of like getting your magical 3 wishes,
for.
right?
Exactly. Like what would I want to know? Yeah. Right. Because because we're all CPG and sometimes the focus is too much. It's planogram. Is it in stock, out of stock? Where sometimes what I might like to know is where I'm planogram, for example, from the front door or from the parking lot to my set, how long does it take? Or is it even a road that someone would go on, or do I just get bumped into? So I may even look at it and say, you know what? I don't even want to be in this retailer, because at the end of the day, I'm not even a destination. I'm a mistake. I'm just shit luck that I get found. And here's why. I can walk through the process, and in a 10-minute shop, I'm on like minute 9:45 before they finally get to my set. And that might be a consistent because of how people tend to walk or wherever. Right? Because I think sometimes we do. You get so focused on is it in the planogram, and is it on shelf, and is it out of stock? Key stuff. But how bad was it to get to the shelf? What aisle are you in?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And what's interesting with that, Kenny, is like you start to take that type of data. We may not have, may not be able to get you all of the information that you need from one source, but it's the missing piece that makes a whole bunch of other information make sense.
That's I think what it comes down to. It might be those things. There's little nuggets thing. Shit, I wonder if that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
from a big, from a big CPG company standpoint, we kind of suffered through this. It's, when I worked at Unilever, it was like, hey, you're going to launch this. Here's the iHut test from the States. Everything looks good and grand. You should launch it and use US data to go to the retailers. And the retailers like, I don't know. But to be able to, for a couple of $1,000s, add some Canadian data or even retailer specific data to it changes the game, right? And so, it's not for every situation, but if we do a lot of that retailer specific shopper work, just to kind of make the story more relevant, because taking a national all channel story to Costco doesn't actually make sense.
But taking a national all channel story to London when I was there didn't make any sense. What do I give a shit what's going on in Toronto, Montreal?
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm not there.
Well, Kenny, an interesting story. I remember, I don't know if you were at London at the time, but were you there when Got to Be was launched at London, the hair care line?
Yeah, I think Mario listed that.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but from a L'Oreal, I was working at L'Oreal at the time. It took us 6 months to find that out.
Yeah.
Because we're not really paying attention. We're in Montreal, London's happening.
We're regional. We're a regional player, and that's not a category that you guys dominated per se. So by the time people would figure out, it's well moving.
Yeah. So those types of like test market things are really interesting.
100%.
And now, we can talk about this maybe a little later, or kind of go back to the other episode about Shelfgram. But, now we have clients saying, hey, this item started showing up in Costco this week. They know within days of the item being there that there's a new item in the category. And, you didn't have to wait 4 weeks for Nielsen to scan it or whatever. Right. You're seeing it right away type of thing. So anyway, it's kind of fun that way.
I think sometimes you gloss over it very funnily, because it's not easy to get all this shit. Like, it really isn't. Like, especially in today's world with gas prices high, flights are high, hotels are high. Like, it was hard enough 20 years ago to get in stores and see when shit landed and see how quickly things happen. It's even worse now. First off, we don't even have half the people we had in the old days, and costs are super high. So knowing that stuff even if it's not right on real time, 2 days late is huge. It's huge because by the time I get to the next if I was working retail, by the time I get to the next retail store, it could be weeks. It could be like you laughed that got to be with 6 months in.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have someone looking, it could be that scenario in today's world where it shouldn't be.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like I remember when I worked in my first year at Unilever, I was a field sales rep, and that honestly, I used that experience every day. There hasn't been a day that I've worked that I haven't brought that experience into what I do, of standing in stores and seeing how people shop and that
Just
sort of thing.
stand back and look, right? You watch and think, wow, that was weird.
Yeah. But, you think back, like we had an army, I would say, there's probably 50 reps for Unilever across the country.
Yeah.
But the process for getting information to head office was take a picture of it with your Polaroid, put it in a FedEx box on Friday.
Yeah.
And then it has to filter up from your regional manager to the FSM to the key account manager to the brand team, whatever. Crazy. Like, can you imagine? And now, what's really interesting with, like, I would say the newer generation, say people who have started in the industry in the last 5 to 7 years, is that their expectation is just, hey, can we run a field agent survey over the next 2 days and cover 1,000 stores and inside a Shoppers Drug Mart, in the next couple of days? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, that's no problem.
But they have no concept of what that would have taken in 1997 to execute.
Oh my
You'd
God.
have to reroute your sales team. They're on a 6-week coverage cycle. You're going to get these Polaroids. And what are you going to do? Sit there and flip through Polaroids? Like,
well, and hopefully they put what it was on, they dated it
right,
properly,
maybe
the time was right. And the thing is, then it's got to get there.
Yeah.
And then and now you just screwed up cycles of calls. So now you've missed sales because they were doing something do you know what I mean? Like you're thinking, oh my God, the refuse caused.
The currency of this is still the same. So if you said, so to anyone who's kind of like listening to, I can do this, go ahead and do it. So pick up your keyboard, flip open your laptop, send an email to every rep you have and say, send me a picture of the most current end cap in the stores that you call on today. Send me a picture. And everyone will go, that's easy, right? So I'm going to drive to the store. I'm going to take a picture. But from every rep, you're going to get 7 pictures, 7 different emails. Hopefully, to your point, Kenny, they send you the address, what store
it was,
where,
what store it was.
Or more importantly, you might get the sales rep version is I was in X store number 32, and you'll go,
right,
I'm at head office. Fuck if I know which one that is, right? Like which one is that one? Why does this look exactly the same as the one from 36 and the one from 31? Did you go? You know what I mean? Like all of these things that, so by the end of it, you've got, if you're lucky, you'll have 50 different photos that you'll have to, I don't know how, like collate.
Yeah. I don't know.
I remember those Polaroids, and I remember
Yeah.
a brand manager actually having a clothesline and clipping them up because that was the only way, right? Because you start looking at them, and then after a while, you're like, they all look the same. Like, so I don't understand what's like, how do I sort them? So it was either like one brand manager had them all over the floor, and then they had them like, a set of them, like these are problem stores. And then there was a set that were like, these are okay. And then there was like a whole set of like unknowns because the reps didn't bother to send in what store number. So it's, what you're doing is really
Plus,
cool.
it was always the disruptions too. Like, so if let's say Shoppers was doing something, you'd phone 10 store managers. Can you run down the street, do that? You're thinking it's a little inefficient. I mean, really, I should have the store manager in the store worrying about a store and her customers, not worrying about the Shoppers down the street that I need. But I can't go. Like you start thinking, okay, nobody moves.
Right.
Like it would be great if you did have all these extra eyeballs out there saying, listen, I need 15 Shoppers, 2 provinces, don't care about the city necessarily. Just the first 4 to 15 different stores. This is what is it consistent or not? That's it.
Yeah.
And maybe as simple as that. A 3-minute request, probably 15 minutes for you guys because everybody's out there anyway. And in an hour, I'm not good. I don't want to tell people you're an hour fast, but I could be done in an hour. It's 1 hour photo finishing.
Almost.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we've done this. It was similar. We did have, someone come to us and say, I want to go to the top 100 stores in this chain. And we launched it Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And by noon, we had 92 of the stores covered. Because they're the top stores, there's lots of traffic anyway.
People are going there anyway.
And, and the client's not getting 92 separate emails. They go to a dashboard where all the photos are there. They're all time and date stamped and GPS stamped with the full address, all of that information. And if you want, instead of having 92 megabytes or gigabytes or whatever photos, now it's just an Excel spreadsheet and there's embedded links. So you don't even have to send the photos. You just send the Excel spreadsheet with the links and you can click on the link for each store. So, it is definitely, when we think about working with our clients, it is kind of fun to have this crowd that can go and collect the information, but making it useful on the inbound and say, well, how are you going to use this information? Because we'll set the job up differently in our system so that you can easily download the Excel spreadsheet, sort it by a yes, no column, and then find the 15 stores that you have a problem with and just kind of move on from there. So it's, I try to be as humble as possible. We just try to make it simple, right? It's just, there's no forms, there's no processes, there's no anything. You can just send me an email. It could look like chicken scratches on a napkin, and we'll make that happen. And, Fridays, I always joke with my team, I have a sales meeting with my team at 10 a.m. my time. So, we're now at noon Eastern on Fridays. And every week we place a bet on how many new projects we'll have by 5 o'clock that we don't even know about yet, that will be executing this weekend. There's no lead time. You don't have to arrange people to do stuff. So this is way more than 5 minutes, Phil. I know I've been droning on, but hopefully
no, not at all.
No,
about issues as we talk about these things.
Yeah.
But and then just quickly, last two things that we, kind of newer stuff that we do, they're kind of related, but we worked through COVID when demos went away. It was just, hey, people still need to sample their product. They need to drive trial. How are we going to accomplish that? And again, having this crowd of people out there, we can, instead of having people bellying up to a demo table in a store, what we can do is take our crowd, qualify them to be the right consumers, and actually send them to the store to go buy the product. So you get some offtake at store, they get to try a full-size product, and they also complete a survey about the product at the end. So it's not just trial, it's sort of a demo with a feedback loop to the brand. And that's been really valuable. We've had our clients feedback that the ROI is similar to traditional demos because 90% of the people that belly up to the table are not people who are ever going to buy your product.
They're not even interested. I mean, I think it's just like a Costco thing. It's just a feeding.
Yeah, exactly. They're there for lunch or whatever, right?
Whatever it is, right?
And then it also works really well for products that you can't mail samples of, or that you want a full-size product to work with, like a toilet bowl cleaner or frozen food. To be able to find it at your local store, bring it home and try it is way better experience than getting a little sachet of toilet bowl cleaner and getting it all over your fingers as you try to put it try it out. It doesn't work exactly well. So I think I just grossed Phil out there.
No. I actually, it never occurred to me that someone would try a sample size of toilet bowl cleaner.
I was just thinking like a ketchup dispenser, like a soy sauce. It's all over.
Exactly.
That's where Jeff took me on that one. I don't know why we went down that path, but that's all I had in my head.
Same path. Yeah. And then the other thing that we're seeing that, it's sort of related, very similar type of approach, but everybody is really, really focused right now on getting reviews on their brand websites and or the product pages for their products at retailers. And we facilitate that same process. So it's a genuine purchase of a product at a retailer. We get them to go to the store, they buy it, they try it, they write an honest review. We don't filter them. If your product is crap, you're going to get a crap review. But where we are different is that we're putting it in the hand of the right consumer. So we're not giving a gluten-free pizza to someone who automatically rejects the idea of gluten-free pizza and is going to give it a 1-star regardless of how good it tastes.
Right.
Or, the person, that hates the scent of lavender, we're not giving them a lavender deodorant to try because they're going to reject it right away. But we kind of filter those people down. So you get really good ratings, higher than normal ratings from those types of people because they're actually people who are engaged with the product. And the other difference is that we ensure that the review has at least 30 words. So you can't just give it 1 star and say this product sucks, or 5 stars, this product is great. You have to leave relevant information of at least 30 words for the next consumer. And that's really about, quality of reviews is important. The amount of reviews is kind of important, but once you get over 25 or 40 reviews, people don't care if you have 1,000 reviews. It doesn't matter. And we've done research to prove that, but I mean, I say it casually, but they genuinely don't care.
No.
And recency is the other thing, right? If you've got reviews from, 2019 on your product on the London Drugs website, that's not a relevant review for the next
Not anymore.
Skincare has changed enormously in the last 4 years. A 2019 review is no bueno, right? So that's where we kind of focus in on that, and just kind of making those solutions really, really easy. And it's really been the driver of our business, and our agents, the people who actually have our app, love those types of things because they're getting to try new products and express their opinions. So they go really fast, and it's as easy. We have an automated tool now that if you said, hey, I'm brand X, I want you to go to retailer X's website, pull all of my items, tell me how many reviews I have, what the current star sentiment is, and then we can tell you how many reviews you should put on each item to get it to a standard, to get it up to date, or to get the star rating maybe from a 2.5 to a 3.8, because we're going to give it to consumers who will actually appreciate the product. So those are the other 2 things that we're working on the field agent side of things, which, is not what the app was intended for in the beginning. It's if we had just kind of stuck to our knitting of audits, our business would be a third of the size it is today. It's really about how can you use this app in different ways.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
the reviews is really cool too.
Yeah,
it's hard, right? It's hard to get reviews. Really.
Well, it's hard to get reviews that make any sense. A review, like you said, like a review that I need a sensical review. Right. Because I do. I mean, I will check reviews. I don't read all the reviews, but when I go to a site and all I see is stars, and you're thinking, okay, but fuck, what did you like about it? Yeah, like, give me something. Right?
Why did you give it a 4 and not a 5?
But I really liked. Yeah, and the 4 is I hated the package, but I really liked the insides. Okay, I don't care about the package. It's a 5 then. But you know what I mean? Yeah. I like to get a little something so I understand what the hell I'm looking at or why I would do this.
And the numbers actually resonate, right? Because you need a good enough number so that you get a sense that enough people have used it. But then you don't need an overwhelming amount, right? Like, because I'm not going to read 1,000 reviews, but I will read, kind of 5 to 10 out of the 40, just so I get a feel of
just a feel.
Yeah, how good.
Especially if I see a lot of 3s. But everybody says, "Oh, really good, really good, really good." I know the mentality of those people is that a 5 needs to be exceptional. A 3 means it delivered exactly what it's supposed to. It's perfect for them. Because that's another way how to read numbers. I don't know what the hell's in your head. So I do read a little bit, but I like the fact that what's in a story.
Do you have to? It's really not relevant, but I'm so curious. Like, do you ever get brands that you have to kind of emphasize, listen, like if the product's shite, you're going to get shite reviews?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you have to have that honest. I get, we have had people come to us say, oh man, we've got average 2.2 stars.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But Jeff, can you go fix that, please?
Yeah. and that for us was, it was interesting. So in the US, there's much more stringent regulations around ratings and reviews. There's actually like the FTC or whatever they're called there has there's legislation around how reviews can be procured and that sort of thing. So we started later than our US business, but the founding principles were it's a real consumer. We're not filtering it. We're not paying them to give us a 5, right? We're just giving them the opportunity to try it and tell us what they think, and we emphasize
just give me an honest review.
But yeah, if your product, is sitting on shelf and it's separated, or all your honey is crystallized, then you're going to get crap reviews. Like this is, and we honestly, we would prefer, like, we won't take the customer's money either. It'd be kind of like, hey, we could do this for you, but if it doesn't move the needle, then what's that investment? We would rather work with them and say, well, why don't we do another type of program? Let's get inside the consumer's head to find out why they're giving you these reviews instead of asking for more reviews, right? Like what could they do to make the product better?
I think that's the trick though, Jeff, is that
that's more added value.
You're going to get a shitty review on the first reviews. They're going to be saying the shit. If you haven't done anything different, it's going to be just another set of shitty reviews. Why don't you say, okay, now look at the comments. What do you guys as a brand need to do? Or would you like us to ask it a different way?
Yeah.
Like, let's get into like what really was, because it might be consistent. Listen, guys, it was really good. The package was great. The price was, but you know what? It just didn't dissolve well. It didn't taste well. It didn't color well. I don't care what the issue is, but at least then you've got something to go on, right? Yeah. As opposed to just looking at, well, I just want good reviews. Well, I'm happy for you. We all do, but you got
that's the buy and try piece of what we do is it's great for new products and driving trial, but it's also like, hey, we launched this product. It's not doing what we thought. Why? And so what we can provide in that space is, the consumer insights as to, we'll get people to go and try it, tell us why they don't like it. But we're also able to do that retail scan and say, hey, you told us that you think you have, 90% distribution at Sobeys. Actually, you're only in 60% of the stores. Right. That's part of your brand problem, right? You don't have the distribution you expected to have, or the shelf position, or the pricing versus competitors, right? Whatever it is. Yeah. So,
and don't kid yourself. Like if brands are listening, because we obviously get a lot of brands. Don't kid yourself. Just because you got the listing, that doesn't dictate how many stores you need to ask that or check. Right. Don't assume that the $9.99 price you get, because the retailer's prerogative to do the pricing, and otherwise it's price fixing. You can't suggest. You can suggest a price, but really up to them. So don't assume that you're getting the price you want. Don't assume that when they were in the meeting that shelf 3 is actually where you ended up. Could be shelf 4, 5, 6. Don't know. Mm-hmm. Like double check your shit. Like otherwise you're just making a lot of assumptions. And I know your guys' service is not brutally expensive. You're flexible enough to deal with. It's just, trust but verify. Mr. Louis used to say that all the time to me. Trust but verify.
Yep, exactly. But it's been really interesting. Like one of the things that I've been up to this summer, just kind of looking at not necessarily like actual partnerships like I have with Bram and Shelfgram, like that has just been really awesome. And we've created something pretty cool there with Retail Pipelines. But I've actually been creeping your podcast.
So you want to be more
listen religiously, but it's really cool to bump into some of the people that you guys talk to and be thinking like, maybe those are people that I should be connected with, because together we can build something that's great for companies. So like Corwin at Ethical Food Group, right?
Totally.
We had a great conversation yesterday, and he's funny as hell. Like we've been jamming on like more cowbell posts on LinkedIn and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. But like what he does and what we do work really well together. There's a good synergy there.
Absolutely.
Perrine as well. Awesome. We've connected with her.
The same one.
We just kind of have really great links there. I don't know if he's been on or not. I can't remember, but we had a really good conversation the other day with Chris Rodkin from the Briton Solutions Group. They have a really cool platform that takes demographic and purchase data and allows you to kind of figure out at a store level which ones are really good stores for natural foods or
I'd like to have him on.
Whatever, like he would be a great guy, man. Like,
well, that's your job. Really, you got to get us connected with that one. I think that'd be super.
Yeah, hook us up with that. That sounds
really cool.
Chris is a great guy, and we think, when we start thinking about these things, like we were talking through, you know what, I'm a small food brand, and actually kind of tie it all together, and this is just an imaginary scenario, but if it was like myself and Corwin and Chris. It's like, okay, Corwin has this ethical food brand. What stores are best to place that product in based on consumer receptivity in that catchment area for those types of products. Like,
look, buddy, I got two distributors that we would love to know before we brought in a product or before we just launched, to be able to go to the sales team. Listen, don't waste your time on these ones. Just fuck it. Just don't bother. Here's the 20 stores that we already have existing relationships with. Just go to these ones. This fits.
Yeah.
Love to have that information.
Yeah. And then, from us, like, also looping back on that brand, it's like, okay, well, let's make it a real success at those stores. So let's do buy and try or whatever at those stores, get the offtake, get the sampling going, get people in those stores going. Because if you can build the case at those top 20 stores in the Longo's chain of 40 stores,
100%, baby.
The
go
rest
deep,
of,
not
the rest
wide.
of them fall like checkers. But if you launched in all 40 stores and it sucks in 20 and it's good in 20, you're just mediocre from the buyer's perspective, right?
100%
because they're seeing the aggregate level sales.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's so many people that are doing cool stuff in this industry, and it's just I always kind of struggle against the way that it used to be done, right? And there's less of that, but we still see it. It's just like, nah, we're good. We've got DSD people. DSD people tell us the truth.
Sure
they
do.
Dress up the displays. When we get pictures from DSD people, they show us the reality. And it's like, I always go back to Bram's statement of like, no one shows you a pimple on Facebook, right? It's like, nope.
Or very, very few do.
Days.
Some people are getting good at that, but for the most part, I'm not even convinced half the time it's a store we wanted to be in.
Yeah.
They took a picture of a Shoppers. It was not Shoppers 962. It was 975, just recycled, like Phil said before, about 30 times.
Yeah.
So I'm not even getting an honest picture.
Yeah. And so, it's not to say like it's dishonest, but like, I mean, there's a couple of, like, if you've got resources at store level, they're better deployed doing the stuff that they're paid to do.
Absolutely.
Not taking
Don't
pictures.
Don't distract them.
Yeah. It's like,
it was my example, buddy.
Sell, let merchandisers merchandise.
It was my example. I called in the store manager to run up the street to a Shoppers, leaving his or her store is not the best use of his or her time. Yeah. They should be servicing the customers in that store. But if that's the only resource I had, it's I'm pulling a resource into a non-productive space. When you have your reps go off route, off cycle, call cycle, is not smart.
No.
Because you just screwed up sales, hard sales potentially, to do an administrative task that could be better farmed out.
Well, yeah,
and probably farmed out to someone who's going to be a lot more honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think about, like, I would never do it because I'm not interesting enough and I don't want to compete with you guys at all either. But I thought of like this armchair CPG sales director podcast where, I just get on there and it's kind of like the Peter Griffin, what grinds my gears, about the industry and kind of pontificate. But it's like, if I was building a sales team or an organization to serve customers better in the future, I would start with a blank slate. And I think that's kind of the problem that a lot of companies face, is that they have this legacy structure. Yeah. And it's been a way of doing, and it's, it's costly, it's painful. These are real people. Like, there's all of those elements. But if I was building a growing CPG company from the ground up, I'd have a totally different structure for doing things. And,
so once you park the idea and do this, we could do once a month, the three of us, 15 minutes on a fast thought, once a month as a public service to our listeners who are your
Plus,
people.
I think it'd be hilarious.
I would be all over because you and I are pontificating and ranting all the time.
Yeah,
and
we're permanently in armchairs, so
right, and it's literally and it's not because it's because we actually give a shit, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that, buddy, it's always 15 minutes a month. Just put it on the calendar. The three of us need to figure out a time, and we'll just shoot the shit. We'll record it. We'll be out there, and it's a great resource for people. Helps you, helps us, and ultimately it helps the people who are listening, which is what really we all care about anyway.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. And I do think, like, I put myself back in the seat, as a key account manager on Loblaws or whatever the hell I was, it's like, you're not, there's also, and admittedly in this industry, it's a small industry. No one you don't really want to stick your neck out and call something out if your next bonus depends on not pissing off a retailer or pissing off a brand, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, the three of us are enough removed from the industry where we can kind of talk a little bit more off the cuff and not have a direct kind of slap coming our way if we said something a little offline.
Yeah.
Well, we do that all the time anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, it's true. But yeah, you know, it's kind of it's a fun time to be in the industry. I think, you know, it's kind of interesting now as everybody has cycled through price increases and all that stuff is kind of coming to a head. You know, inflation's kind of coming down. We are seeing people be a little bit more relaxed. This time last year, it was almost impossible to talk to anybody because all they wanted to do is, you know, stop filling out price increase forms.
And that hasn't stopped either, eh?
No, but I know people are at least handling it better.
Wait till they see the olive oil ones coming, bud.
Oh, I can't imagine. No thanks.
Just wait. Yeah, trust me, it's not going to be fun.
No.
I'm dead serious. I mean, it's really horrific.
Well, olive oil and rice, no?
Rice is
coming.
Well, rice is India's.
Is rice here or
coming?
Is rice
India's stopping export, eh? I think they're exporting one type of rice only. The rest is domestic use only.
Yeah.
They've mandated they are not allowed to export. Like rice, and like oil, like I shit you not, we got some pricing yesterday. I almost cried. Like really, we're to the point where we're getting to the point where specialty oils may be on par with general oils.
Wow.
Which is great for specialty oils.
Right.
But I'm not subbing out of olive oil.
Right.
Like we use copious amounts in this house.
Yeah, I bet.
Copious amounts of oil. I'm seriously, I'm actually, I was talking with Dominic yesterday, thinking, oh my God, if I have to change, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Is it too late to start trying to grow olive trees in your backyard? Or
I mean, you got to wait your 40, 50 years. I guess it's doable. I mean, it'll be long gone.
It's a good hedge. It's a good hedge.
You know what? I'm not talking to the two of you. Honestly, you guys are useless.
Listen, Jeff, we gotta go.
For me. This is catastrophic for me.
We gotta go, but I will send you some time slots. Let's figure out. We were serious about the armchair thing. I think that would be really fun.
Can I ask one thing before we get off this one? You going to CHFA, obviously.
Sorry?
You're doing CHFA, right? East?
Yeah. Brenda will be there for sure, and I'm trying to get there. But
because what I was going to say, I mean,
I have a better reason to be there.
Well, I mean, I was thinking, why don't the three of us and maybe grab a few others like we were sort of talking about, and do just a dinner so we can actually. There might be a bigger concept out of this, or just a really cool discussion. Yeah, like Corwin's probably I would assume might be going. So if you want to do something, maybe get the 4 or 5 of us, especially if you're in communication with them. If you want to set something up for the Friday or Saturday night, I'm volunteering.
Why don't I'll lasso the bunch of us into a conversation, and we'll.
What do you think?
Happens.
That'd be awesome. I'd love it.
But
I seriously get on this call because I'm going to get shit.
All right.
It's always fun.
But anyway, I'll send an email and then we'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
Then if you're coming, you're coming, and then that'd be awesome.
Awesome.
And if people want to find you, how do they find you? Where are they going?
LinkedIn's the best place. Like I said, there's lots of ranting there at LinkedIn. So just Jeff Doucette on LinkedIn, or our website is fieldagentcanada.com. You can kind of get a summary of everything we do there. We also have a blog, and you can subscribe to that, and you'll get all of our newsletters. We only try to put out valuable stuff and not spam you to death, which is rare. We're not the children's place of content, or whoever it is. But just coming out shortly, we have a pre-Christmas shopping survey that we've just started. We'll be publishing that in the next week or two. Just some kind of emerging insights there. People are already 19% of people start shopping for Christmas before September. If you wanted to know.
That's scary.
Wow.
And then in October, we'll do our full Christmas report as well. So we try to, kind of put some content out there that people can take away and use and be relevant, and not just kind of pat ourselves on the back all the time. So
awesome.
Very cool.
And then I would say, like, if anybody's sitting there listening to this saying, well, it'd be kind of cool if we could weld what we do with what Field Agent does. We love those conversations. That's how we're going to change the industry is, people smarter
one
than
idea
me
at a time, baby.
thinking
One
about
idea
ideas.
at a time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Awesome.
You are a pleasure to talk to you, young man. Always enjoy talking to you.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, buddy boy.
Bye now.
Bye. Okay, you gotta go.
I gotta go. I've got a mentee first call that this.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Or a young woman, I've just kind of put her on hold.
Okay, bye.
That's forum too. So if everybody wants to do the
forum
mentor-mentee thing, forum. Go to forum. Super easy. Even I could do it.
Bye.
I'll chat with you later. Thanks, everybody.